Number one, it is harder to find profitable inventory. If you're new, my name is Nikki. I have been doing reselling part-time for 14 years. We're going to start with the negative and end on the positive. So many of you have told me, and I've even learned this myself just thrifting over these last couple of years, that it is so much harder than it used to be to find profitable items. Anybody can go out there to the thrift store, sell things around their house, buy pallets that don't sell. The harder part, it seems like year after year, is keeping your knowledge base up on what is actually selling, what will sell quickly, what will sell for the profit margin that you want. So I've just noticed it. You guys have spoke this sentiment also. We've just seen it. It's just harder to find inventory. And I feel like this is multifaceted, but it is. Overall, it's harder to be a reseller, honestly, than it was 10 years ago. Number one, a lot of retail companies are starting their own resale sites. They're encouraging their customers, hey, bring back your stuff that you bought from us used. We'll give you a store credit and then you can buy new things. So as opposed to just taking that stuff to Goodwill, right? They're going to take it back to Lululemon. They're going to take it back to all these other stores that are offering these secondhand. A lot of them have their own secondhand sites for their own items. So if you think about that, a lot of people that would have just taken like a bag full of things to the Goodwill are now taking their bag of Lululemon used to get a store credit. I will say a lot of those stores offer like really crappy like credit amounts. I took some super like good condition, recent quality Lululemon leggings. I wanted to see what they would give me, and I think they offered me like $20. I'm like, what? I could sell this for more. I was just curious. So that's, I feel like one reason. Another huge reason, I mean, I don't know if you guys see these, but I see commercials for eBay and Poshmark all the time. Like just this week, I've been counting because that's how much of a nerd I am. I saw 5 Poshmark commercials and 4 eBay commercials. They do run the commercials based on where you live, like how much they run it. Reselling must be huge here where I live because I see that Poshmark commercial at least once a day. So, these big sites are now suggesting to people, hey, instead of donating that stuff, sell it on Poshmark, sell it on eBay, and get some money so you can go shopping. Have you seen the Poshmark commercial where the girl's like, oh my gosh, I just listed this dress and it's sold. Let's go to dinner, mom. I'm like, yeah, I wish stuff sold that fast. So there's more reasons we could get into it, but it's just harder to find profitable inventory. Now, like I said, anybody can go out and just find anything to list on Poshmark and eBay, but we want to find those profitable items as resellers because we want to get our money back. Number 2, there's a lot more competition. That is just the reality of it, you guys. When I started reselling almost 15 years ago, there were no reselling YouTubers, none that I knew of. And I was YouTube around 15 years ago? I don't even know. I didn't discover reselling YouTubers till like halfway in my reselling journey, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, fairly recently, honestly, considering I've been doing this for so long. But if you think about it, you guys, there's YouTubers like myself that have millions of views, tons of followers. COVID, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that word, but that virus, so many people lost their jobs. They had to find side hustles, part-time jobs, and a lot of people jumped into reselling. We did lose quite a bit of people because it's not for everybody. It's a lot of work, you know what I mean? It is a very tedious job with many different things that you have to do in order to do it successfully, but there's just more resellers, and there's a lot more part-time resellers. There's a lot more hobby resellers than there were 10 years ago, especially when I started 15 years ago. There's just a lot more. There's people that make videos on TikTok. I'm one of them. So I think social media has a huge part to play in that. Also the economy, like things that have just happened in our world. There is just more competition to doing reselling now. I promise you we will end on a high note. I promise you guys. Number 3, the cost to get into reselling has gone up a little bit. I will be honest. Like back in the day, and I still say this now, if you are brand new, like you don't even have an eBay or Poshmark account, I say start around things around your house. There are some things around your house that you just don't want anymore, whether that's a picture frame, clothing, new beauty products you never used, you can find something in your house. But if you are not like super brand new, let's say you're a hobby reseller, it's a bit more expensive to resell now than it was even 5 years ago, you guys. If you are a liquidation seller, if you are new here, I sell all of the ways. I find inventory all of the ways. I go to yard sales, I go to storage auctions, estate sales, the Goodwill outlet, traditional thrift stores. I buy liquidation pallets, liquidation boxes. So I have a wealth of knowledge on this channel. If I have almost 1,000 videos, so if you are new here, consider subscribing. But if you're looking for info on liquidation pallets or how to source at the Goodwill outlet or how to source at a traditional thrift store, I've probably made a video on it. I recently made a video on the top 7 ways. I think it's like called the top 6 or 7 ways to get inventory for your reselling business. I will link it down below. But thrifting, especially thrifting at a traditional thrift stores, this is just part of life with inflation and everything, but the prices have like gone sky high, you guys. I used to, when I first started reselling, I used to be able to go into a Goodwill store and I could find a dress for like $3 that I could easily flip into $30, no problem. There weren't as many resellers, there was a ton more inventory that I could flip and make a profit, a lot less competition, and also the prices were more reasonable. And I started my reselling journey in Los Angeles. So this is one of the most expensive cities in our country. And now, you guys, especially depending on what thrift store I go to, I'm not getting a dress for any less than $10. Some of my thrift stores know the brands and they'll mark a dress up to $20, $30. I took you guys thrifting with me recently and a thrift store had like a DVF dress listed for close to $100. Like, it can be ridiculous, you guys. So I feel like, especially for those newer people that aren't brand new, but are, you know, trying to build up their inventory, maybe they have 100 items and they want to get to 1,000. It's more expensive than it was 5 years ago and way more expensive than it was 10 years ago. That's why I always say, once you've gotten through the phase of selling things around your house, if you can stand it, start at the Goodwill outlet because it is one of the most affordable ways that you're going to score inventory. Yard sales and the Goodwill outlet. The Goodwill outlet, if you don't know, it is a place where you go and you either pay by the piece or by the pound. Most of them around the country are by the pound. I think Salvation Army, I know because I went to the one in Minnesota. Salvation Army also has little Goodwill outlets where you pay by the pound. It is one of the most, if not the most affordable way to get inventory. So I always say start there. I say if you can, because a lot of people can't stand the Goodwill outlet. It's not, I shouldn't say it's not clean, but it's not like going to a traditional thrift store is like going to the Ritz-Carlton, and then going to the Goodwill outlet is like going to a Super 8. That's the best. In some places, you guys. I have been to some Goodwill outlets that are like somewhat nice, but I should say it's like a physical thing. You're digging through the bins. There's dust everywhere. Like certain places, people can get kind of like physical and people will just like dig in front of you. I saw a couple, surprisingly, living in Los Angeles, a lot of people would assume I've seen a fight here. I've never seen a fight at our Goodwill outlet. I had not seen fights until I went to the Salt Lake City bins and then Miami. I've told you guys, I have a couple group members that are from Miami or live in the Miami area, and they're all like, girl, why did you go there? The Miami bins is wild. If you go there, I salute you. This Los Angelino, I lasted there like 30 minutes. Great things about reselling right now is that you can do this so many ways that did not even exist when I first started live selling. That's what we're going to talk about. When I first started reselling 14 years ago, there was no live selling. There was no website that I knew of. They probably existed, but I didn't know of them yet. It wasn't as popular to sell on consignment. There just weren't so many different ways to live sell. You can do this so many different ways, you guys. You can be a live seller. I know some of you can't stand it, and some of you love it. You could be a live sell only reseller, where you go live, you sell your items, you don't hold many items, you don't have a ton of inventory like that you're storing. That could be the way you go. You could be a list-only live seller where you list on Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, Depop. You could do consignment, and there's so many ways to do consignment. Some of my friends actually take clothing from clients and they list it for them on Poshmark and eBay, and they split that sale. Some of my reselling friends will do a split of 50-50. Some of them do 7-30, and you store the item. Oh my gosh, you guys. I had you charging and the charger just fell. Some of my friends, I'm just going to keep talking. Is it still recording? Yeah, you guys kind of jiggled a little bit. Yeah, so just going to keep talking, friends. Some of my friends do 70-30, some do 50-50. I told you guys, I've never really been a big consignment seller. I did it a couple times for some of my real estate clients. But a lot of those things I just bought from them, like I just paid them outright. I only did it a couple times where we waited for the item to sell and then we split the net profit. So you could do that. Like if you hate sourcing, you don't want to thrift, you don't want to go to the Goodwill outlet. There's also reselling where you can send your items to websites and they will do all of the hard work for you. Let's say you hate listing and photographing. You can go sourcing, you can go to thrift stores, source wherever you want, Goodwill outlet, and send it to places like ThredUp. And you can send it places like The RealReal, and now even Poshmark is offering their own consignment program. I did a video talking about applying to be a consignment seller, and then I was looking at like my Poshmark closet in the, the profile area, and I guess they're launching soon in Los Angeles, and they asked me if I wanted to be a consignment, like a person that sends the inventory, which I definitely don't want to do. So I would rather be the person that gets the inventory and list it because I work full time, so it would be nice to just get inventory to my door. But that's going to be an option in a lot of major cities, and then I think they're going to slowly like launch that around the country. But there are so many different, my point is there are so many different ways to live sell that I keep saying live sell because that's the newest one in my brain. There are so many different ways now to resell that I feel like I know I said earlier the barrier to entry is high, but honestly the barrier to entry to resell, if you like it, can be low depending on you find your niche, what works for you. If you don't like live selling, obviously listing is great. I personally, I'll just tell you, you guys, a lot of you already know this, I love selling all the ways. The newest way that I've started reselling after almost 15 years of doing this is I've been doing wholesaling. So I've been actually selling to other resellers. I will say, and I've been very transparent with you guys about this, it's not a ton of money. Think about it. You are selling to resellers. You as a reseller, you want a good deal. So if I buy something for $1, you're probably not gonna wanna pay me $10, $15, $20 for that because you need to list it and flip it for a profit. You're gonna wanna get the best deal you can from it. So for example, I just shipped out a wholesale order today. She ordered 300 items at $5 a piece, including shipping. And it was great for me because I got each item lower than $5 a piece. I don't like to say what I pay on wholesale items because a lot of you are my wholesale customers that watch, but just know I pay less than that. But it's not a huge profit margin unless you do high quantity, like high volume. You need to be doing like a couple hundred pieces a week for it to even make sense, and you need to have the lowest cost of goods possible. I'm talking like $2 or less, or else there's really no point in doing it because it is a lot of work. I will say I'm a one-woman show, and I don't know that I would ever be just a wholesaler as my reselling business. It's a lot of work getting the items for a decent price, packaging them up, taking them, because I'm shipping like 300 pieces. Hubby helps me during the weekdays, but this one had to go out. It was like I had to get it out like really quickly. She wanted it quickly, and she's all the way in Alaska. So you need to do high volume. But I have enjoyed integrating that into my reselling business because it's quick money. I literally can get items to my door. I can go to the Goodwill outlet. I can buy 200 items and then ship it out the next day, and I'm making a profit because I'm selling it at $5 an item. So it's been a nice addition to my reselling business. Like I said, it's not a ton of money unless you do huge volume, and you really need to have the time and the manpower to do it. It's just a lot to package up all that stuff and get it shipped out. So yeah, that's a new way that I've been reselling, and I have friends that's all they do. They wholesale to other resellers. They don't want to store the items. They don't want to list the items. They just want to sort. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself because I know earlier I said reselling can be hard if you don't know what you're doing, but once you know what you're doing, the amount of money that you can make with ease is pretty awesome, you guys. Once you learn how to look up comps, how to look up sell-through rate, once you build connections with people where you can source high quality items at a at a really good deal, your business can easily skyrocket. It does take a lot of hard work. I know I said with ease, it gets easier the more you do it, the more you learn, the more you research, the more brands you know, and I never stop learning. I'm always watching brand videos, I'm always checking comps. I've done a ton of videos on that, but over the years, I've been able to make connections that have allowed me to like take my business to the next level. So that video that I did, where I did 26,000 in sales on Poshmark, that was all because I made a connection with a person here in Los Angeles who was able to give me thousands of skims. I literally would drive to his store, pick it up, put it in my SUV, come home and just live sell, like thousands of pieces every month. And that really like jump started my live selling journey. So you are able, the more you do this, the more you talk to people. I know some of us, a lot of us resellers are introverts, myself included. What is it called? I'm an extrovert or I'm an introvert? No, I'm an extroverted introvert. I can turn it on, basically. I can turn it on. I can like be that people person. You would never know that talking to you for 2 hours is like physically draining afterwards. I could be that show woman. And then when I get home, I'm like, oh, decompress, hallelujah, I'm alone. Like I recharge alone, but I can turn it on. And I recommend that if you really want to grow your business, don't be scared to tell people what you do. That's some of the ways I've scored so much inventory, you guys, at a steal, because I'm just telling my real estate clients, hey, I resell, like, I see you have that stuff bagged up in the corner. What are you doing with that? She's like, oh, I was just going to take it to Goodwill. Do you want it? Gave me 3 bags of stuff free. Fur, there was designer items in there, a ton of Lululemon. So just doing those things, just casually telling people what you do can take your business to the next level. So I always recommend that. I know it's very difficult for some of us, but give it a try. It can really help to grow your business. I'm kind of weary of saying this for the newer people, but sourcing online, you guys, has never been easier. I know I sound like such an old fart when I'm like 15 years ago, but it's true, you guys. 15 years ago, sourcing online the way it is now was not as easy as it is now. You can buy pallets online now. You can buy from overseas. You can buy furniture. You can source anything online, you guys. It does take usually more money because it's not like $5 items, although I do find a lot of that for my sourcing group. But you know, usually when you're doing online arbitrage, as it's called, it can take more money to get in, but you could find lots of pre-owned things on Poshmark and eBay and resell those. You can, like I said, you can buy pallets. There's a ton of new companies that have popped up, online liquidation companies where you could buy liquidation boxes. I've talked about a lot of them on my channel. I'll link some of them down below. You can buy mystery boxes. It is just so easy now to source online. And I think that's also why, one of the cons I mentioned, we see a lot more people reselling and more competition is because there's just so many new sources that are available to everyone everywhere. A lot of people can go on eBay and look up reseller bulk lots. Everybody can go online and find Helpsy, Quick Lots, Boutique by the Box. All of these, you know, companies, people can just look up and be like, oh, I could get inventory from there, and oh, I can get inventory from there. So it's easier to get inventory, you guys, online. That's like counterintuitive, but in the stores where you live, it can be more difficult to find profitable items. I should say it's easier to find items. I don't necessarily mean they're all profitable, okay? I have reviewed a ton of stuff that I have bought online that has completely flopped. I've always told you guys on this channel, I tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between about reselling. Like, everything is not perfect. Everything you buy online is not gonna flip for a profit, especially when you guys are buying pallets, mystery boxes. Just keep that in mind because you don't have a manifest. You don't know what you're getting. So it really is a crapshoot. Keep that in mind. I'm a big fan of sourcing online when you can see the item. Like, I source all the time on ThreadUp, The RealReal, Depop, Mercari. I source all of the ways, you guys, and I find profitable items. And a great way to do that and make money is to make sure you're checking comps. The great thing is you could be on your couch just sourcing on Mercari and looking up what that Gucci dress sold for on eBay or Poshmark or ThreadUp or The RealReal. One of the ways I forgot to mention that you can also resell is boutique selling. I've been talking about all these other ways, is that some resellers just go and buy clothing direct from the manufacturer new. I've started doing that this year too. Those are the two new ways that I've started reselling, is the wholesaling and the selling boutique clothing, meaning you're buying clothing brand new directly from the manufacturer in bulk. You usually have to have a reseller's, it's not a license. What do we call it in here? In California, it's called a seller's permit. All of the companies I've bought from, you need a seller's permit to be able to buy these things because they're giving you wholesale pricing, but all of it is new. This is actually an example of one. This is a brand I bought like 20 shackets from, and I think I only have like 10, no, I have 5 left. This is one of them. So they're all brand new with the tags, clothing that I buy directly from the manufacturer. Unfortunately, boutique clothing does get a bad rap. There's a ton of like cheapy companies out there. Like a lot of the stuff that Shein makes, some boutique companies make that exact same quality, like in the exact same way. But then there's also really good quality boutique clothing brands that actually the wholesale price is even a lot. And then the retail boutiques that sell it, it can be expensive and they're really good quality. So that's the boutique stuff I've been scouring out. And I've really been enjoying it because it's nice to be able to give my people new with tags inventory. I sell it on live sales, and I've actually been listing a lot of it and just selling it traditionally. It's, what was I gonna say? Every time I film, the trash truck comes here, the recycle truck, and it like throws me off. I was gonna tell you that listing it, the nice thing is that it's nice to just be able to get new inventory directly to me and not having to source it. So if that sounds like something that you might be interested in, might be something you want to look into. Like if you have a full-time job like I do and you just don't have endless time to source, the boutique stuff is great because you just order it online. You can easily check comps online. In my opinion, the best reason or the best pro to reselling is the flexibility, and your input directly affects your output. So if you need to make $3,000 for the month, it is very easy to do your numbers to figure out how much you need to list, how much you need to sell in order to get that $3,000 a month. So if you need to list 10 items a day, then that's what you need to do, and you can easily plug in the numbers. We could do a video on numbers. Reselling is a numbers game. As much as people like to say it's like chance, it's really not. And anytime someone says that, I'm like, should I be listening to you? Because it's really just a numbers game, you guys. If you know your numbers, if you know your sell-through rate on Poshmark and eBay, and you know how many items you can list, then you can easily just maneuver the numbers and figure it out. So if you know, like I said, you know you need to make 3,000, you're like, okay, I have a 50% sell-through rate. So I can't just list 10 items a day and expect to sell 10 items a day. That would be 100%. If you're listing 10 items a day and you have a 50% sell-through rate, on average, you should be selling about 5 a day. That is if, of course, you're checking comps and sell-through rate on the items that you're listing. But on average, if you know your store and your closet numbers, it's easy, you guys. So I know oftentimes, like, hey, if I need to up my reselling money and I need to make like an extra $2,000, I can put in the work and I can make this money. I can do this from my home. I can do this from a coffee shop. I even did reselling in Japan on our honeymoon, you guys. I took my laptop and I was listing stuff. Like, you can do this from anywhere. And depending on how much money you want to make and how much of the work you want to put in, you can increase your income. And I love the endless possibilities of this. This is one of the reasons I love reselling, you guys. And I know this sounds kind of cheesy, but reselling has changed my life. Like, because of reselling, I've been able to travel. I was on national TV. I've been able to support my family. I've been able to pay student loans. I've been able to pay off debt. Like, I've been able to travel the world. And I love it. And I love that I can do it from anywhere. There's multiple ways I can do it. And my direct input affects my output. And you can just change the numbers around to decide how much money you need to make. I feel like when you're not doing reselling right, it feels hard. You know what I mean? It feels difficult. But if you can just learn a couple simple things, sell-through rate, checking comps, continuously being open to learning brands and being open to doing this different ways, If it's just not for you, it's not for you, right? I've said that many times. I'm very honest about that. But maybe if listing's not for you, then is live selling for you? If live selling's not for you, is consignment selling for you, where you just thrift everything and then you send it off to ThredUp or The RealReal? Or maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you want the super quick cash, so you go and thrift and you sell it to other resellers. Is that for you? There are just so many different ways to do this, and there are so many different ways to make the money you want to make. And that honestly outweighs all of the cons, all of the negatives for me, and that is why I keep doing this year after year.